good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Today I'll be presenting about an influential someone who has and is still trying to make a difference in today's world. Her name is Isra Hirsi. I'm sure you haven't heard of her yet, so I'm making this presentation to inform you how much of a beautiful and inspiring young woman she is. Let me introduce you to Isra Hirsi. Isra was born into a politically involved family in Minnesota. I'm saying she was born into a politically involved family because she is the daughter of U.S. Congresswoman Ilhan Omar. We would talk about community issues and political campaigns at the dinner table. So for me, being politically and socially aware was the norm, says Isra in a TED Talk she did in early 2020. She is a climate and racial justice advocate who is the co-founder and co-executive director of the U.S. Youth Climate Strike. Before I talk further about her many accomplishments, let's learn about how she got here. As I said, she was born into a politically involved family, so going to protests, rallies, and campaign events as a child was nothing new to her. She started her political journey back in the 5th grade, when she ran for student body president. Mind you, she was still 11 years old at that time. She has always been told that she could change the world, and she believed it. She wanted to show the world that women do have purpose and value. She then won the presidency. After winning, she was labeled as the token activist, politically correct police, and the angry black girl. She then continued to join debates in the 6th grade and would religiously talk about social issues in class. Classmates and other people started getting annoyed at her for being woke. But that didn't stop her. In 2015, when she was just about 14 years old at that time, she used her hyper-woke personality to make a real change. She joined every group to exist. She joined climate stuff and gun violence prevention groups. She was also not scared to call out any injustices, whether it was in class or in normal conversations. Isra grew up in Minnesota in a diverse community and with a realization of an intense climate crisis. She developed a knowledge of environmental issues by witnessing pipelines being built in her state, extreme snow conditions, and hearing about the water crisis in Flint, Michigan. She wanted to take action. In January of 2019, she was barely 16, she co-founded an organization called U.S. Youth Climate Strike. With that organization, she used it as a way to erasure the being in a white predominantly group for 2 years. She tried to make the space as diverse as it could be. She would always talk about races, sexuality, and any other intersections in her speeches, class, and interviews, or even normal conversations. Even though people got tired of it, she never did, because she believed that it was a very important thing to talk about, and it was necessary for everyone to be heard. She had nothing but good intentions when co-founding the organization. She didn't want anybody to be excluded, especially people who are less fortunate than she is. I try my best to make sure that nobody feels that alienation because after 3 years of constant feeling unwelcomed, I could not stand anybody else dealing with that either. Quoted from the TED Talk again. I will link the link to this TED Talk later at the end of the presentation. Enough talking about her history. Now let's get into her accomplishments. Other than co-founding a whole organization, Hirsi coordinated the organization of hundreds of student-led strikes across the United States on March 15 and May 3rd in 2019. In 2019, she won a Brower Youth Award, and in that same year, Hirsi received the Voice of the Future Award. In 2020, she was named in Fortune's 40 under 40 government and politics list. Let's get to know about her organization more, shall we? When Isra co-founded the U.S. Youth Climate Strike, she wanted to focus on the world's climate change. She wanted to focus more on the people rather than what people perceive climate change as. When asking people what they think climate change is, they always say animals and other similar criteria. Though Isra believes it's more a human problem. When asked if she protests every week or not in an interview, she says no, of course not. The reason why she doesn't protest every Friday is because she can't. She has schoolwork, school, to do and other important things to do. And I quote, "So no, I don't strike every day because I can't. But that doesn't mean my activism is not valid. That doesn't mean that the activism of thousands of youth across the world is not valid." Other than leading protests from here to there, she achieved a dream of attending a climate strike in Washington, D.C., where she described it as everything she could have wanted. Now, getting into the last bits of the presentation, I will be talking about why I chose her as the person I decided on making a presentation about. Well, I came across her name in an article when I was still searching for a person to do a presentation on, and she caught my eye. Not only because her mom is a congresswoman, but how she also had a chance to talk in a TED Talk, which I find really cool. So after watching her TED Talk presentation, I fell in love with her message and the story behind her organization. I also admire how much she has accomplished in her 18 years of life. I think that she completed a lot of achievements in a short period of time. And I admire how she started her journey in such a young age and how she has never lost motivation, even though she was labeled as bad things by people. I just love how motivated and passionate she is and how much she actually cares about not only the earth, but the people as well. She never invalidates anyone or anything, and I think that is something everyone can learn from her. She is very passionate in what she loves, and I want to find that passion too. So I guess I can say that she's my role model now. Not only she is brave for speaking up on any injustices, she isn't scared of what other people think. She's a brave young woman, and I'm sure she can do much more good things in the future. And I'm very much excited to see what she has to offer. I can't wait to follow her in her journey. Here are the sources of where I got my information from. And here is the TED Talk link that I mentioned earlier. The whole TED Talk is very informational. I gathered a lot of information from that TED Talk by itself because the articles I've read was just about her climate activism and her organization rather than her story behind of her organization and stuff. So I gathered most of the information from that TED Talk. And thank you so much for your time and have a great rest of your day.